All right, Alexander, let's answer the questions from the live stream we did with Gonzalo. And let's just get into it. We have a lot of questions. So, David S., thank you for that super sticker. Zionic, thank you for that super sticker. MB, thank you for that super sticker. Zuxi, thank you for that super sticker. Welcome, Madril, to the Duran community. And welcome, veteran support to the Duran community. And from Euro Gabor, Orban wants 5 years plus billions to support a ban. What do you think how the EU will look like 5 years from now, given the present challenges the EU faces? Which leader will be around 5 years from now?
Well, probably Orban, actually, because he's the only one, it seems to me, that is genuinely popular. I mean, look at the election results. He won a landslide victory. Which European leader amongst the present crowd could be guaranteed a landslide victory? I mean, all right, Macron got 58% against Le Pen, but everybody accepts that this victory he got was hollow. Now, on the oil ban, the latest word is that the EU Commission is finally coming round to dropping the whole idea. Because not just because of opposition from Hungary, but because there's just too much opposition from Central European states. This has apparently provoked a furious response from the hardliners, from Poland especially, and they're threatening to veto the entire sanctions package if the oil ban is dropped from it. But we'll see what happens.
From Euro Gabor as well, heydays of protests are done in a few months in the EU. Folks have to think twice throwing tomato to Macron and egg to Baerbock. Due to the embargo and inflation, the Molotov cocktail will be out as an option.
It's so true enough. I mean, you need petrol for a Molotov cocktail. So where are you going to get it? But let me say straight away, I am somebody who abhors political violence. I don't support it at all. I think it's something that I find extremely disturbing. But my own view, and I think this is the point you're making, is that avenues for peaceful legal protest are becoming more circumscribed all the time. And given the mood in much of Europe at the moment, a pressure cooker effect is now starting to appear. So the fact that you've already seen, people throwing tomatoes at apparently Baerbock, I didn't see it, but anything, things of this kind, well, that may be a sign just of things, the shape that things may take. We'll see.
Zuxuxi says, good day to all. Simo Bothell says, keep it up. Simo Bothell, Missouri. Johnston Blakely says, good work. Great work, gentlemen. And Alan Shepard says, I watched the victory parade, seeing the general make the sign of the cross. It says a lot. God bless Russia. You won't dare to do this in the West.
Absolutely true. You're completely right. It is an enormously important move when the general, who is Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister, did it for the first time, which was some years ago. It created a massive stir across Russia, and everybody was talking about it. And now, of course, it's become a routine. It's become a part of the ceremonies, and it does tell you a huge amount. By the way, and just for the record, even the Communist Party in Russia now supports it. The Communist Party in Russia, I mean, it's debatable how actually communist it really is, but the Communist Party in Russia is now Christian. I mean, try and make sense of that.
Sparky says Putin is an anti-globalist hero.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Sparky. J. Rillo says, is Russia economically prepared for this war a year beforehand? Why didn't they withdraw, liquidate all foreign assets and currency? Gonzalo's new Telegram channel.
Yeah, I think that the answer is that there are the Russian government is an enormous, sprawling thing. There are people who work in one direction, and I'm afraid there are other people who work in a completely different direction. So you have people in the economics and industry ministries and in the agricultural ministries who are working incredibly hard to make Russia as self-sufficient as possible, to pursue import substitution programs, all those sort of things. And very successful they were. And you have a entirely different group of people in the central bank and in the finance ministry who want to stick to the IMF orthodoxies, if you like, who say to themselves, well, we're never going to get our central bank reserves stolen or frozen because that would be a breach of sovereign immunity, and even the United States wouldn't dare to do a thing like that. And now they've been found out, and they've been hugely embarrassed. I have to quickly say it was a huge mistake. They've been massively criticized for it. But the central bank chair, now Molina, has played the leading role in responding, in Russia's response to the sanctions war. And I think anybody looking at the situation in Russia today would have to say she's done an outstanding job. I mean, the ruble is strong and stable, and inflation has now fallen. The weekly rate of inflation has fallen to roughly the kind of rate that it used to have before the war began.
Tyler Durden, thank you for that super chat. Balke says, did you guys see Garland Nixon's tweet about the phase 1 and phase 2?
I certainly did. I think it's incredibly interesting. Can I just say, for those who haven't, Garland Nixon, who I believe, by the way, is following our program, and if you are, welcome to our live streams, Garland. But Garland Nixon said that there are people in the White House who are saying that phase 1, the destruction of the European economy, of Germany, of forcing its deindustrialization, has been successfully achieved. That's phase 1. And now they want to move on to phase 2. So I would love to know who these people are. I'm sure that there are people in some sections of the US who think like that. And not just the US, by the way, but in Europe too. But it does strongly suggest that a part of this policy, part of this program all along has been the deindustrialization of Europe and of Germany in particular.
Sanjava says, how the Western media and intelligentsia has misunderstood Russia is evident from how the Western media, YT, independent and mainstream media, prop up Alexander Dugin as the philosopher advising Putin and the Russian state.
You are so right.
Part 2 says Alexander Dugin was expelled from the Moscow State University way back in the early 2000s, as he is so fringe in Russian academia. Kremlin has repeatedly stated that Putin has never met Dugin, but the West believes Dugin equals Russia.
You're completely right on every point. You're so right. They don't know tiddly squat about Russia. Their entire sanctions program that was unveiled back in February was based very much on the premise that Russia is, the gas station masquerading as a country. And now, to their horror, they discover it's a lot more than that. And they don't understand Russian decision making, the Russian political system, Dugin's role, which, as you say correctly, is ephemeral. They know tiddly squat about Russia, and that's why they're making mistake after mistake, miscalculation after miscalculation. They don't understand how the Russians think. They don't understand how the Russians fight. They don't understand how the Russians organize their economy or how the Russians conduct their diplomacy. But, so much to say here. I've got lots of questions to answer. Maybe this is a topic we can return to in a discrete program.
Gregory Casey says, how long before ordinary workers and people across Europe rise up and revolt against and overthrow EU Commission and the national governments? In my view, people are sound asleep and utterly propagandized.
I'm afraid I agree with you. At the moment, I had a long email exchange with my brother in Greece. And Greece, is right at one of the most vulnerable countries, and people are having terrible time in Greece. And my brother described the mood in Greece, which is despair combined with fatalism. It's not as if they think that there's anything they can do. They at the moment they're just rolling over or dropping over. But gumming out, protesting, doing the kind of things that used to happen in Greece. The fight's been knocked out of them.
Valias, thank you for that super chat. VFTs says, have a beer, lads. Thanks for your hard work. Summer of 1970. Thank you for that super sticker. Zariel says, Der Baerbock. The name physically hurts, insults me.
I agree with that. I mean, I have to
Thank you,
say,
Zari.
I thank you, Zariel.
Thank you, Zariel, for that. Lloyd Tackwell says Pelosi quoted the Book of Matthew on the House to justify sending $40 billion to Ukraine when Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only one making sense in clown world.
No, well, indeed, I must admit, I found the quotation, the citing Matthew was one of the most grotesque, one of the most ridiculous, one of the most, I thought, offensive things I've ever come across. I mean, I was speechless when I heard and saw it. And all I will say is, though, I shouldn't have been, because from Pelosi you could expect anything.
Boomer50 says, my morning addiction, just listened to Larry C. Johnson yesterday. He would be a great addition to your powerhouse of brilliance.
He would indeed. And again, it's another person that one day we would love to have. The only thing, as I said again, is please understand that we have to get into a position where we can call these sort of guests. At the moment, we're working on all of those things. We have a list of people. We're, preparing for it, and Larry Johnson is certainly one of them.
Mr. K. Khan says, keep up the good work. Catherine Smith says, Alexander, that's the closest I've gotten to seeing your sweets doggos. Thank you, Catherine. E82 says, British citizen Mazi Namdi Kanu was kidnapped, abused in Kenya, and sent to Nigeria. Britain has yet to say a word, 1 year now. Freedom for Biafra.
Yeah, Biafra, yeah. Biafra, just very quickly for people to know, is a region in southern Nigeria which attempted to achieve independence from Nigeria in the 1960s. There was a ferocious civil war in which the British government backed the Nigerian government against Biafra, and there was a humanitarian catastrophe there.
Beer and Flies, thank you for that super sticker. And Sancho Relaxo says, someone show Alexander how to lengthen the screensaver timeout so that he doesn't have to jiggle the mouse all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sancho Relaxo. Kelsey, thank you for that super chat. Gassan, thank you for that super chat. Horse and Carte Blanche says, a lot of friends ask for an all-in-one video about this conflict. Any thoughts on making a single video that runs through the main history of this conflict plus the events since the invasion? Thanks for your diligence.
We have actually been discussing this. There's been discussions about this. I think one video to do that would be a huge program. I mean, it would be an enormously long video. But, we have been debating how we might do that. And, we'll see.
Lil Storm, thank you for that super chat. Zuxuxi says, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Thank you very much for that. Gus Antunes says, Gazprom has stopped gas supplies through the Polish section of the Yamal-Europe pipeline.
Absolutely. Well, bear in mind, Poland is refusing to comply with gas for rubles. Up to 20 EU companies apparently have now signed up for gas for rubles. 14 more are preparing to do so, so it seems. But, we're seeing that the gas situation is beginning to spiral out of control, with some countries refusing to comply, demanding support from other countries, and Ukraine also making its own decisions. Not for the first time, the Europeans, through their insane economic war of attrition, now find themselves trapped in a situation they can't control.
Aji, thank you for that super sticker. Gus Antunes says, Russia introduced counter-sanctions against 30 structures of Gazprom's former daughter, Gazprom Germania, as well as Europol Gas, which owns the Polish section of the Yamal-Europe gas pipeline. There goes Germany's loophole.
Well, absolutely. And can I just say something? How arrogant of the Germans, how incompetent of Robert Habeck to think he could just seize these assets. Just seize them. He didn't pay for them. He didn't nationalize them properly. He didn't, seize them and then pay for their value, which, might have been a way forward. He just seized them. And he seems to have thought that the Russians would just sit back and let it happen. Well, now he's discovering otherwise. Habeck in my opinion, and I say this frankly, I think he's a more disastrous figure than Baerbock. He's constantly claiming that he's come up with solutions and making declarations about things which are going to happen, which are unrealistic. Like he's done a deal with Qatar for LNG, for example, that he's reduced Germany's imports of oil from Russia from 33% to 12%. Again, he's not explained how he's done that. And I don't think anybody who really drills into the figures believes it's true. And of course, he does all of these things. And he's leading Germany and Europe into a very, very bad place. And this is just another example.
Reza says, appreciate your hard work and dedication. Alex and Alexandria, the best. Thank you. Thank you very much, Reza, for that. Horse and Carte Blanche says, Alex Alexander, can you briefly elaborate on what happened to Greece in 2010?
What a huge subject. Briefly elaborate on what happened to Greece in 2010 is impossible. Briefly as we can say it, Greece joined the euro, which it should never have done, in incredibly corrupt circumstances, corruption in which the European Union was fully implicated in. And I can say that definitely because my father, my poor father at the time, was going around the corridors in Brussels trying to explain to people that this isn't going to work, it can't fly. And they all pretended that they weren't listening, or at least they pretended to listen, and they paid no attention. Anyway, so Greece joined the euro, which it should never have done. This set the scene for a grotesque orgy of corruption, overspending, back scratching, you name it, in Greece. All of this on the back of the euro. The economy inflated. And don't forget, it wasn't just Greece that was inflating at that time. Pretty much every other economy was inflating. And then, of course, the financial crisis came. Greece was left with a massive amount of debt. And the European Union came in and cleaned up and closed down. They basically smashed the economy, hurt all the people who were providing actual value in the Greek economy. And, of course, all the people who were there and who'd made huge amount of money out of what had happened, they walked away, and they still got all that huge amount of money to this day. Now, that's a very, very brief summary of what happened. Alex can tell you an awful lot more. He was actually there.